Meeting of the Environment and Natural Resources Finance Division will come to order. A quorum is not yet present. We will proceed with the Board of Governor's recommendations for the Board of Soil and Water Resources. And when we do achieve a quorum, Mr. Jaschke, we will do the minutes once we get that, just to get that done. We have 2 sets of minutes. So, Mr. Jaschke and Ms. Becker-Finn, welcome to the committee and proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members. John Jaschke, Executive Director, Board of Water and Soil Resources.
And Angie Becker-Finn, Assistant Director with Bowser.
So we're just going to walk through a short introduction and then hit the budget items specifically closer to the end of the presentation. So I'm just going to put my head down and go, and you can ask questions whenever you.
Well, we did hit a quorum, so I'm going to just do the Representative Fisher. Did you review the minutes for March 12th?
Yes, I do, and I'd like to move the minutes for March 12th, please.
Representative Fisher moves the minutes from March 12th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Representative Lewick, did you review the minutes for March 14th? Representative Lewick moves the minutes for March 14th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Minutes are approved. Mr. Jaschke.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. So we'll give a little introduction on our agency operations, and then I'll have Angie cover most of the dollar amounts that are in the budget proposal from the governor.
Just
right.
get a little closer to the mic, Mr. Jaschke.
Here we go. Okay. All right. Mr. Chairman, John Jaschke, Executive Director, Board of Water and Soil Resources. Our agency is, our budget is, as you're going to see here in a minute, largely executed through local governments, through local partners, and you can see this reflected in our mission statement here, which is to work to improve and protect our water and soil resources by working in partnership with local organizations, and all of that typically ending up in on some private land somewhere in the state of Minnesota for the public benefits. So you'll see these programs provide. Again, a lot of it is about getting projects on the ground. Locally led is really an important part of this. Because we're working on private land, having landowner and community understanding and buy-in for these projects and practices is really critical. We also oversee a few regulatory programs that have, again, local implementation components at the county, soil and water conservation district, watershed district, or even in a city, or joint powers of these organizations at the local level. We also oversee and run a state conservation easement program since the mid-1980s called the Reinvest in Minnesota program. We'll talk more about the results and how that program works in a minute. And making sure that these resources and activities are done in the most effective manner involves picking priorities and targeting those dollars and efforts to the most critical landscapes that are going to give us the best public benefit. Again, we focus on the private lands of the state. Here's a map just showing, the private lands. Obviously, most of the public lands are in northern and eastern, northeastern, north central Minnesota, and we know how those are managed through the state agency and a federal agency, primarily in the forest area. We also can see by this map, the waters that we have pollution problems on are reflected of primarily agricultural land in some parts of the state, urban land in other parts of the state, but private land in general is associated with more of our water quality challenges. Again, we use that local government delivery system that allows people who are experts and persons who are part of the community to work on these projects and programs.
So, Mr. Chair and members, for fiscal year 2021, the governor has recommended a budget of $175.9 million for the Board of Water and Soil Resources. The pie chart shows that the majority of this is through Clean Water Fund dollars. We also have included the Outdoor Heritage Fund as a piece. It represents about 12% of our budget, even though the governor doesn't recommend that. We show it here as part of our entire budget package. The general fund then rounds that out with about 17% of our resources. As Mr. Jaschke said, we are a lean agency because we're focused on getting resources out the door. And so local government conservation delivery is Minnesota's model for getting conservation on the ground. About 83% of our budget goes directly out the door to local governments for implementation. And then the agency program and development and operations are the other 17%. By program area, this is a little over half of our budget is for local water and local land and water conservation. Almost 30% is for permanent resource protection. Some of our statutory resource protections, which I'll get into next, cover about 7%, and the agency operations are the last 7%. So if we start with the statutory resource protection, this is our state support of the legislation that Bowser is directed or mandated to work on, including the Wetland Conservation Act, drainage law, buffer law. We have asked for no change items in this section of the budget. The Natural Resource Block Grant is one way that many of these programs get done, and this is a block grant that goes out to the counties to work on things like the Wetland Conservation Act, on shorelands, and on water planning. As you know, the Wetland Conservation Act calls for no net loss of wetlands, and so first trying to avoid a wetland. And where one can't be avoided, to minimize it, and where it can't be minimized, to mitigate it. We are required by statute in 103B to facilitate drainage policy, and this is done through the Drainage Work Group, which is a group of very diverse stakeholders. It's agricultural interest, environmental and conservation interests, local governments, drainage authorities, and members of the legislature. We are also tasked with keeping up the public drainage manual.
Ms. Becker-Finn. Representative Eklund.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Ms. Becker-Finn. So you're talking about working with the local groups like soil and water conservation districts, and are we going to get to in this plan on where we're at for funding the soil and water conservation districts?
Ms. Becker-Finn.
Mr. Chair, Representative, the funding for soil and water conservation districts, first and foremost, needs to be stable and it needs to be predictable in the funding for the groups that get this work done on the ground. In the governor's budget recommendations, has put forward one opportunity for that, and that is through a levy authority, and that is in his tax budget, so it would be in the tax bill.
Representative Eklund.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I'm just curious of conversations with the tax chair in the House and the other body. Is there an appetite for this?
Ms. Becker-Finn.
Mr. Chair and members, I think one of the pieces that's very strongly agreed upon and known far and wide is that the work of soil and water conservation districts is critical to being able to achieve conservation delivery on the landscape. And so that, I think, first and foremost is trying to figure out where and how that funding will happen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Ms. Becker-Finn, proceed. Oh, Representative Sandstede.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just one quick question regarding the Soil and Water District employees. I've talked to a number of the local organizations, and one of their biggest expenses is health care for their workers. I'm just wondering if we could get them in a health care package at some point, but just food for thought right now. Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, local governments are also autonomous units of special purpose units of local governments, which means exactly some of the challenges that you outlined with small local governments have a harder time sometimes buying into healthcare systems that are provide equal benefits and are affordable. And so I would say that is one of the ongoing challenges. The soil and water districts do have a couple of bills that are moving forward, including a levy authority and a general fund ask for part of their funding.
Proceed.
Mr. Chair, the last piece in our statutory obligations is implementation of the buffer law. When that passed in 2015, it directed Bowser for implementation pieces, and this is an example on the top of a 16.5-foot buffer on a public ditch. On the bottom is an example of a 50-foot buffer on a public water. thanks to our local soil and water conservation districts and to farmers across the state, we are now at 99% compliance on public waters for the buffer law. We're about 84% on public ditches. It was a really bad fall for harvest, and it was wet, and we expect the spring to be wet as well. The soil and water conservation districts are continuing to work with landowners on being able to get those final buffers in. So in summary, for our statutory resource protection, in implementing these laws, they're designed for greater efficiency and effectiveness. We want to make sure that we have improved landowner services and to have water quality and infrastructure improvements.
Onto the local land and water conservation part of the budget. This includes several components, of which maybe the highlight is the fact that we have these local planning responsibilities by statute. Counties, watershed districts, and soil and water conservation districts, and cities in the 7-county metropolitan area, or joint powers of those organizations, work together to develop water and watershed management plans that then these programs provide funding to execute those plans in part. Obviously, the state provides a part, the local organizations provide a part, and then they seek funding from wherever they can get it to do the rest. And so part of our responsibility is to review and approve those plans, and then also to provide the funding from the state to carry out that work via those plans. One of the change items in the governor's recommendations is for easement stewardship, which is for our Reinvest in Minnesota program. We have somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000 or 7,000 easements that have been acquired over the last several decades, and we have to make sure that those easements, the state investment in that asset, is well preserved and well managed, and the public benefit is sustained on all those properties. Our conservation delivery and cost share program is really the one that kind of is in some ways the centerpiece for what the soil and water conservation districts in particular do. They work with landowners to provide two things: technical assistance and financial assistance, and this is really about putting those two things together. They're able to leverage funding from the federal government in many cases to help landowners, particularly in rural Minnesota, with the Farm Bill, be able to carry out that conservation work, landowner by landowner, using the plan as their guide. Here's the watershed approach, which we're now moving towards via legislation that was passed in a couple of phases. Initially, I think it was passed in about 8-9 years ago, where we directed local governments to work on a watershed basis. That was evolved in a couple of different iterations to now, in essence, move towards by 2025, having the state using the watershed approach as the primary way of managing our water resources, following the scientific information that's been collected now over the last 10 years through those Clean Water Fund investments in monitoring and analysis. This is a little example here of just of the easements that we hold in the state. Again, most of our easements are about restoration, so we acquire the conservation easement on the property and then put the land back into a conservation state. Most of these are wetland restorations or riparian buffers, or in some cases wellhead protection is also another one of the practices that are used under the USDA spec and state guidelines to get this land back into a conservation state. Again, aimed at the marginal parts of these landscapes. Again, this is done through the local soil and water conservation districts. They do the monitoring. They work with landowners, and we pass on those funds from the state, and they provide the technical and financial assistance. Again, that private landowner work is for the public benefit, because the way the land is managed, of course, is reflected in the way our waters are used and available for other uses. There are several iterations of this program, our Reinvest in Minnesota program. We talked about wetlands and riparian buffers. We also use this program to protect existing areas around some wild rice lakes in north central Minnesota. As I mentioned before, we used it for wellhead protection and shoreline protection in more limited cases. And we also have an arrangement with the area around Camp Ripley to bring in some federal funding to do additional work specific to protecting that area around the military installation. I'll talk about that in just a second, a few pictures. But we use these various funding sources, all are combined in these various programs. Bonding funds have historically been used, Clean Water Fund, Outdoor Heritage Fund, and federal funding all come together to acquire the easements and do the land restoration or protection. There's no change to this. This is an example of that Army compatible use buffer program that we carry out in conjunction with obviously Camp Ripley, and there's also a role that the DNR plays in this as well when they do some fee acquisition. Again, it's to protect the military operation from development that could otherwise occur around that base, and then allow or not allow them to do their military work, which requires a certain amount of noise and disruption that isn't compatible with residential use. But it is compatible with farming and other things, so those are development, or those are activities that are allowed under these easements. We highlight the CREP program. A couple of years ago, we signed an agreement with the federal government to align our program with the Conservation Reserve Program. You can see here's the status of the funding to date. We are aiming for a $175 million state contribution over this approximately 5-year time period that the program is expected to operate. And part of this money, of course, comes from the federal farm bill, which has been recently reauthorized in DC.
The next category is agency operations, with the goal to provide quality, timely, and cost-effective support. So this includes all of our board operations, our administration, our accountability and evaluation, including the way that we manage our grants and that money that does go out the door, that 83% of the budget that does go out the door. Our budget has become more complex, and we have special revenue funds like bonding and all of our federal contracts that we need to manage. And those special revenue funds oftentimes come with restrictions that the general fund then must hold. So the general fund must provide certain administrative costs to carry those special revenue funds. As such, we have 3 change items to our agency administration and operations budgets. And so I'll go through those in detail right now. So the first one is the operations budget. So these are costs that are passed on to the agency via lease increases or retirement obligations. So for example, the agency doesn't bank dollars for retirement. So these are actual dollars of people that are retiring that the state is obligated to pay out. It's also the base requirements passed on to the agency by minute and salary basis. The middle one is our fiscal services. This is the only place in our budget where we are requesting 2 additional FTEs. This really relates to the tension that we have between getting as much money out the door as we can and still meeting state requirements. And because of this more complex budget, the staffing levels have remained the same while we've had more and more projects and budgets to work with. The Office of the Legislative Auditor also identified this as an area where Bowser could use more staff to meet our existing fiscal demands, statutory obligations, and requirements. So this is asking for $170,000 a year for 2 staff. And the third one is the critical IT and security. We've been stretching out our databases as long as we can. And so right now we have, for example, our wetland banking database that holds all of the credits for when private landowners and buyers buy and sell credits is operating on a platform that is no longer supported. And so we tried to find somebody in Wisconsin that still worked on a Fox Pro platform and have been informed that he no longer works on it as well. And so we are limping along and are well aware of the fact that if that goes down, there will be Minnesotans directly impacted immediately. So the benefits to these change items is really that it provides services to local government partners and to taxpayers to meet our existing obligations and to really fulfill vulnerable and outdated tools. We want to make sure that our operations are reliable for the agency and for our partners.
And then just to wrap up, Mr. Chairman, members, this is a map showing, the variety of projects and where they're located over the last several years. The numbers, of course, are maybe not so much easy to understand, but we do measure the results of each of them. And so I thought I'd highlight a couple of those just so you can see how that works. And so here's here's an area down in Sand Creek, this is Scott County. In fact, I know they're having some flooding problems right now. So, this work to stabilize this stream bank and protect that shore is, a watershed project. This particular project or this particular part of this watershed and this one project, was accomplishing 20% of the goals for the water quality improvements in that particular small watershed. And obviously, you got to protect it for the events that are the big ones. Sometimes they come in the spring, sometimes they come in the summer, but you got to be ready nonetheless. Here's one that, a much larger project, which included a channel that was once, of course, straightened out, many, many years ago by the Corps of Engineers, actually, but now they help with putting things back as well. And so this was a project that had multiple benefits where the channel was re-meandered to provide water quality benefits, habitat, and flood control benefits all in one project. In this case, because it was a comprehensive project over that stream reach, we were able to achieve the 80% progress towards the water quality goal on that site. These projects, all of them, whatever funding source they come from, whether it's federal, state, or local, they do, provide local persons with work, whether that's through contracts or through staffing at the local level. But these are people who hired and are working in those local communities. And I think it's really important that those projects, then get broader support because the people who are most affected by them see them happening. With that, Mr. Chairman, we will stand for any questions.
Representative Wagenius.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Two different questions. On page 15, you talk about the number of phosphorus pounds annually. I assume that means phosphorus not going into the water. But I have no context here and don't know how much phosphorus do farmers apply each year? And is that number stable or is that number going up?
Mr. Jaschke.
Mr. Chairman, Representative Wagenius, I think I'm going to have to go back and get some more information from some other sources because I don't have it for this project. This project was one that was designed as part of this watershed restoration work. The source of the phosphorus, it is an agricultural watershed to some extent, but it's also a watershed that has a serious amount of bank erosion as well.
I'm looking here.
Oh, I'm sorry. My page 15, oh, there, the top of this one? Oh, okay. This information comes from our database that Ms. Becker-Kadelka mentioned before called eLink, where we include all the projects that are done within a given time period. We use estimators because, of course, we can't go monitor every one of them to make sure the number is specific to that project. But we use estimators. The University of Minnesota has been part of validating. And so we plug those into these standard practices and make estimates from that.
Mr. Chair, if I could.
Representative Wagenius.
But that's not my question. I'm not challenging your estimates. I am saying I have no idea what this means because I don't know, we don't know how much phosphorus is applied annually. And the second question is, so what percentage is this? And secondly, is the amount of phosphorus continuing to rise or is it flat? So having a chart that shows us the purchase over the last 15 years would give us some sort of context. But without knowing that, this is, I think phosphorus is applied in the millions of pounds, but I'm not sure. So since I'm not sure about that, I'm hoping you will bring that information back to us. And if I could have one more question.
Representative Wagenius.
My own watershed district, we're having problems with too much water. And I represent the choke point in the Minnehaha watershed district, where the whole watershed flows through a tiny little lake called Lake Hiawatha. When we've been talking to the watershed district, it has become clear to me that they have not made plans for climate change. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in the pickle we're in. So how are you incorporating into your planning process for everything climate change?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Guinness, we're part of an interagency group that is dealing with, the whole climate change challenge. Specifically to how we incorporate it, it's really, I'll say, three areas. One is the plans themselves are, that I mentioned earlier, the watershed plans. They do include a component about how that climate change is going to be addressed through their authorities. And the second two things that we do specifically on the designs of these projects is we use both the updated engineering specifications, that have to do with the hydrology, so that we design these projects to handle the rainfall events or runoff events that we're seeing more recently compared to the ones that we've seen over the last prior decades. And on the biological side, we spec plant mixes that have the ability to adapt or handle over long periods of time, climate changes. So those are the three things that I would respond to in a brief way.
Representative Guinness.
I hear you're planning going forward. What about, my watershed district is particularly old. It's one of the first, I think. And climate change was not included in its original design. So what are your recommendations to watershed districts that are like that?
Ms. Becker-Finn.
Mr. Chair and members, it's a really good question. And I think, 10 years ago, our best modeling tools got us this far, got us to, the pollution reduction estimators around tons of sediment annually or pounds of phosphorus annually. And as we learn more and as we keep moving forward, I think the component around one watershed, one plan, which is let's not just look on geopolitical boundaries, let's actually look where the water is coming from and where the water is going to, is going to keep making us better, make us better locally, make us better at a statewide level. And as local governments are now getting together to plan on a watershed basis, it's taking it to the next evolution, which is not just how many pounds of phosphorus or how many tons of sediment, but really what's the goal and how do we make progress towards that goal written in the plan. And so that's the piece of the plan that also has, as Mr. Jaski said, climate change adaptations so that they are prioritized, so that they're targeted, and so that they have measurable results. And so, for example, this project in Sand Creek that Mr. Jaski talked about was recognizing that all of these things are going to get this creek 20% towards its goal, and I believe this was a goal for sediment reduction. 20% towards that goal. So recognizing it's going to take a lot of practices, and it's been a long time since these practices have been happening. It's going to take some time to fix them, but now we have a better understanding of what that goal is and how do we make our way towards it.
Representative Guinness, and if you could just pull your mic up just a little bit.
I think you're not getting, I'm sorry, I'm not making myself clear. We're having quantity water problems, just a lot of water. So around one of my lakes, they're doing the best practices of putting in nice plants that have deep roots, and they're getting flooded out. So we have a very basic too much water coming into too small an area problem. And this is an old watershed district. So my question is, what do you do about things that we did in the past, not thinking about climate change? How do we update that? How do we move?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Guinness, the plans that Ms. Becker-Finn mentioned include not only water quality, but they also include water volume. They may include water supply. They may include recreation. They are comprehensive. That is one thing that's really important. In your case of Mihawk Creek, obviously they've got a built infrastructure that's been there, as you say, for a very long time because it's an old developed area in that regard. They're going to probably have to use some special means, and their plan will be updated once every 10 years. And so I can go back and get you the information on when that next update is in front of them. But at that moment in time, they will be asked to include climate adaptation measures as part of their considerations in that plan update that the state will review and ultimately approve, hopefully.
Are there any other questions?
It's not working.
Any other questions? Thank you. We'll move to the first bill, Representative Sandstede, House File 838. I'll move that House File 838 be laid over for possible inclusion in an omnibus bill. Representative Sandstede, would you please present your bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. I'm proud to represent my district, which is largely dependent upon natural resource-based economy. House File 838 is the result of my desire to bring much-needed economic development to my region by taking what I believe is the next step in optimizing and expanding the uses of our many natural resources in an environmentally responsible manner. Minnesota is home to 17 million acres of forest. Currently, only 5 million of these acres are being managed by the DNR. Healthy managed forests are critical to our wildlife, our water quality, economy, and recreation. We all know a forest is living and ever-changing. What this bill does is it appropriates $2.2 million from the general fund to the DNR for a transfer to the Board of Regents of the University of Minnesota for academic and applied research through MnDrive at the Natural Resource Research Institute for the following purposes. $500,000 is appropriated to develop what is called a forest optimization tool. This is a compilation of evidence-based data and information used to enhance forest productivity and the benefits of a healthy managed forest. $800,000 is appropriated to maintain and expand the Natural Resource Atlas, an interactive resource tool that can be accessed by county, federal, state, tribal, and private land owners. The Atlas accesses more than 200 databases of information pertaining to all natural resources. It contains all the information needed to make informed decisions. Again, only 5 of Minnesota's 17 million acres are being managed by the DNR. The Atlas provides comprehensive information which aids in forest management for the other 12 million acres. The Atlas was designed and has been piloted only in northeast Minnesota, and this funding would allow completion of the Atlas development and the opportunity to extend it statewide. $400,000 provides funding to the Minnesota Forest Resource Council for ongoing biochar development and application of biochar to our forests to maximize forest health. Biochar is derived from components of a tree like the chips and branches from the residuals, and it can be used to add value to our forest health when it's applied to the landscape. When biochar is applied to the soil, it delivers nutrients and maintains moisture levels and aids in the forest's ability of absorbing carbon. Finally, $500,000 is appropriated, and a portion of, the $500,000 of this overall appropriation is going to be appropriated or appropriated for the use of advancing emerging technologies to produce clean syngas. Syngas is the process of using forest byproducts resulting in a renewable liquid fuel. These liquid fuels are part of the emerging renewable energy economy and offer alternatives to traditional petroleum-based products. NRRI is working with 2 Minnesota companies currently to push these technologies forward. With me today, I have Dr. Rolf Wieberg, Executive Director of Natural Resource Research Institute, to help answer any questions you may have.
Dr. Wieberg. Any questions from Representative Eklund?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Sandstede or Dr. Wieberg, we've been asking for appropriations for the NRI for doing this stuff, and I think it's very good projects that you're doing. What is your goal, final end goal for NRI as far as appropriations go and that sort of thing?
I'll take a stab at this.
Representative Sandstede.
Ultimately, my goal is production, manufacturing of some type of renewable energy. We've been doing research for a very long time, and I personally believe Minnesota is positioned uniquely and perfectly to go to the next step to become a state where we can manufacture and be a producer of clean, renewable energies.
Representative Eklund.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I should probably be clear, I'm looking for what's the NRI's goal as far as the funding that they get. Thank you, Representative Sandstede.
Dr. Weaver.
Mr. Chairman, committee, first, thank you for the opportunity to speak with you today. Ultimately, NRI's goal and role in the state is to deliver on the university's land grant university status and drive commercialized solutions to the state of Minnesota. They may come in the form of a tool, as Representative Sandstede discussed, or in enabling technologies that allow us to see different opportunities at higher value as we go forward looking into the future. So we're mission-driven and delivery-driven for commercialization.
If you could just state your name for the record.
Oh, my fault. I apologize. I'm Rolf Weberg, Executive Director, the Natural Resources Research Institute of the University of Minnesota. Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Eklund.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I would recommend anybody in the committee if in the Duluth area, get a tour of this facility. It's amazing the work they do. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Lewick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In fact, I'd go even further. I don't care if you're in the Duluth area. Go clear across the state. It's a really intriguing place. Just a quick question on maybe you can help committee out to understand a little bit about the chemical compounds that are essentially available and can be extracted from a variety of wood products. A lot of folks think, well, we build houses and make paper, but there's a chemical, and we make maple syrup and some other things. But there's some other things. If you could just give us a quick look at what the potential is there for renewables.
Dr. Weberg.
Mr. Chair and committee, that I can do. I'll try to do that in 2 minutes, knowing that it'll take 30. But there are a number of things that NRI is pursuing right now. One, everyone has heard of lignin, which is a material that comes from tree processing. We have a new technology working with Oak Ridge National Labs that allows us to make some interesting biopolymers. So there's one extractable, to use the word that you indicated, Representative Lewick. What's passing around right now are examples of different kinds of grades of biochar that we can process. Right now, we have the capability of making about 4 tons a day, which is industrially relevant. But it's different grades that you can use for different purposes, ranging from forest health to agriculture. It's also a way to sequester carbon and utilize some of these secondary species that we can't use today, as well as utilize some of the waste wood from our processing plants. Those are 2 major examples. The third that's in the bill, which is this idea of syngas. Syngas is really just simply decomposing wood materials into their most basic components, carbon monoxide and hydrogen. It's a little bit of a chemistry lesson, but in the Second World War, Germany figured out how to make gasoline and jet fuel out of that. The technology has come a long way since then, but 2 Minnesota companies have really have some groundbreaking technology that allows us to do it at much lower energy and much higher quality. That sets Minnesota up for a differentiated opportunity. I hope that answers your question.
Is there anybody else who would like to testify for or against the bill? Anyone else? Representative Sandstede, any closing remarks?
I'll make those on my next bill, but I would appreciate your support.
I will renew my motion that House File 838 be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill. The bill is laid over. Representative Sandstede, House File 1321.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members. As you just heard about one of the valuable resources that is common in my district, you will also learn that my region is rich in water and minerals. And again, it's my desire and goal to see these resources developed in a way that is environmentally responsible and helps to diversify the economy we currently know in my region. Like the bill you just heard, House File 1321 appropriates $2.4 million from the general fund to the DNR for a transfer to the Board of Regents of the University of Minnesota for academic and applied research through MnDrive at the Natural Resource Research Institute for the following purposes. $800,000 of this appropriation would be used to continue applied research to advance water quality technologies. $700,000 would be used to initiate a project that evaluates the existing iron minerals and develops processes on how to use them for ongoing iron production in the future. $500,000 would be used to demonstrate emerging mineral extraction technologies that support high-value mineral product development using a low-energy, low-water use approach. $400,000 would be used to utilize, develop, and repurpose existing mine landscapes, such as our water pits, into high-capacity, low-cost energy storage. This offers an opportunity for Minnesota to become a leader in renewable energy storage. And again, I'm happy to answer any questions.
I will move that House File 1321 be laid over for possible inclusion in an omnibus bill. Dr. Weber, do you have comments? Any questions from the committee? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to testify for or against the bill? Representative Sandstede, any closing remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, members and Mr. Chair, there is a host of renewable energies that are emerging. I believe Minnesota is uniquely positioned to capitalize on these, given its rich base of forest, water, and minerals. Not only would the funding for these two bills be greatly appreciated, I believe it would be pivotal in advancing our state in clean and renewable energies. I'd appreciate your support.
I renew my motion that House File 1321 be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill. The bill is laid over. Thank you. Representative Bernardy. I will move that House File 675 be laid over for possible inclusion in an omnibus bill. Representative Bernardy, you have an author's amendment?
Yes, I do. It is DE2.
Representative Lee, would you like to move the author's amendment, the DE2 amendment?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move the author's DE2 amendment.
Representative Lee moves. Representative Bernardy, first, I believe you have an oral amendment to the DE2 amendment.
Well, actually, Mr. Chair, I'd like to consult with you on that. It actually turned out good like I thought. Can you just verify that? Is there something that you would like?
I think it looks good. We may want to just approve.
Well, okay, so Mr. Chair, I do have a question. The control aquatic invasive species under an invasive aquatic plant management program, do we want to make that an invasive aquatic management program instead of plant, so it could be any invasive species?
Representative Bernardy, what I'd like is if DNR could describe their permits, but if we could maybe approve the DE2 amendment to get that in the shape you'd like, and then any potential amendment if we had advice from the DNR. So all those in favor of Representative Lee's amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Amendment is adopted. You could introduce yourself and name for the record.
Mr. Chair and board members, my name is Heidi Wolf. I supervise the invasive species unit with the Minnesota DNR.
Ms. Wolf, I think Representative Bernardy's question was, is there an aquatic invasive species management permit, or does the DNR only have an invasive aquatic plant management permit?
We actually manage other things in plants. So zebra mussels, for example, in a pilot project could be in addition to that.
And would the language on 1.6 be sufficient for that to occur?
Mr. Chair and board and committee members, I believe so.
Thank you. Representative Bernardy, to the, to your bill as amended.
Thank you,
Oh,
Mr. Chair.
Representative Heinzman, did you have a question?
I could wait if it's necessary, but otherwise I just wanted to ask quickly. I see between the DE and the original language, we're eliminating watershed districts, cities, and counties. There must be a reason for that.
Representative Bernardy.
Mr. Chair and Representative Heinzman, this is the amount of money that we have here will be very effective with lake associations. It would be probably not enough funding to add the other applicants.
Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't disagree. I just was curious as to why the scope was being limited, and I guess it makes some sense, but I also like the flexibility. Just want to put that on the record.
Representative Bernardy.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. I bring this bill before you from my own experience in the community in which I live, a lake that I grew up playing in and water skiing and fishing in and sailboating in has become infested. And there is a need to help manage this infestation. And when I did my research to find out how to help my community as a legislator, I found out there wasn't any funding sources that actually could help. And this bill, working with lake associations, helps to build partnership and civic action. And right now, I thought it was really interesting. We have over 500 plus Minnesota lake associations who donate about $6.25 million annually to the care of Minnesota's lakes and about 1.2 million volunteer hours. They already are investing in our state and helping to manage the problem, but they need to have partners with the state to help manage that. And so with me today, I brought, and I also want to mention that 40%, and you know this, you're the environmental committee, but 40% of Minnesota lakes and rivers are impaired. I brought with me today the association president from the Long Lake Association, and he's going to testify on the bill, and his name is John Brohammer. Thank you.
Mr. Brohammer, introduce yourself for the record.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chair and committee. My name's John Brookhammer. I'm president of Long Lake Improvement Association of New Brighton and have lived on the lake for the past decade. Long Lake is located in Ramsey County at the northwest corner of 35W and 694. It's a 200-acre lake and has 140 lake owners and 4 easements that represent another 100 households. It's a lake that receives a lot of external pressure due to being one of the closest recreational lakes to the Twin Cities. It's also unique in that half the lake property is owned by the county by way of Long Lake Regional Park. The lake was infested with invasive species in 2015, and it spread aggressively, choking out shorelines, anchoring spots, and our channel. This isn't just a water quality issue, but it's also a safety issue, since parking spots in the bays get choked out and anchored boats get pushed into ski lanes. Our lake association mobilized and created a management plan that included funding of AIS treatment from our member dues, and we continue to do that today. The city of New Brighton understands the value that Long Lake provides to the community and has been a great partner in co-funding this. However, we've been unable to obtain any state or county assistance to support our efforts in maintaining the health and safety of the lake. Across the state, this burden falls on the individual lake residents that organize through lake associations to maintain our public water assets. Today, I ask that you approve this bill to provide support to lake associations that are working so hard to protect the lakes on behalf of our communities. Back to you.
Any questions for the testifier? Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. How much do you spend each year, on your aquatic invasive species management?
Mr. Chair and committee, we spend $4,000 for our milfoil treatment annually. Additionally, we also contract with the city of New Brighton for public safety, which is about equal to that amount.
Representative Fabian.
And give me your thumbnail sketch of how effective you think your program is.
From when it erupted in 2015, we've been able to keep a steady grip on its spread and on the management of it. So we've worked with not only Lake Restoration Incorporated to do the broader lake treatment, but also homeowners themselves for their individualized treatment, and we've been able to keep it under control.
Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And what is the treatment that you do? I assume you're just harvesting stuff, but
No, it's not harvest. It's a herbicide treatment that we do in conjunction with Lake Restoration Incorporated. Yeah, we can only do, out of our 200-acre lake, we can only treat about 10 to 12 acres of it, just due to DNR regulations on how much can be treated.
Representative Bernardy, do you have another testifier?
Yes, I do. Jeff Forrester with the Lake and River Association. Yeah, you can say the name of your organization. That would be great. And I appreciate him testifying because I knew that this wasn't only an issue for my community. I knew it was an issue for people across the state of Minnesota.
Mr. Forrester.
Yes, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Jeff Forrester with Minnesota Lakes and Rivers Advocates, and I want to thank Representative Bernardy for bringing this bill forward. You know, often when an AIS is discovered in a lake, the assumption is made that the state is there to help, because it was at one time, up until about, I believe it's 2 years ago that the grant program was zeroed out. But at one time, there was about $800,000 a year that went out to help lake associations manage the state's problems of aquatic invasive plants in lakes. After that was zeroed out, it's fallen completely on lake associations. So these are people, volunteers, that are spending their own money to protect the lake's assets. I'm excited about the idea that the state would be stepping up to support them in these efforts. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Forrester? Is there anyone in the audience who'd like to testify for or against the bill? Representative Bernardy, any closing remarks?
I just thank you for hearing this bill, getting our lake associations, supporting them and creating partnership really helps with getting the public in civic action and helping us take care of our resources that Minnesota has grown to love and cherish, and we need to come up with solutions to help solve the problem. So we're the great state that we intend to be.
I renew my motion that House File 675 as amended be laid over for possible inclusion in an omnibus bill. The bill is laid over. Members, the next bill on the calendar, we're going to jump to Representative Becker-Finn's lands bill because there's a testifier that is unable to be here this afternoon, or this evening. So I'm going to go to House File 1586.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would move House File 1586, and I do have an amendment.
Representative Becker-Finn moves that House File 1586 be recommended to be re-referred to the Ways and Means Committee. And you have an A7 amendment?
Yes, Mr. Chair. The A7 amendment clarifies the provisions regarding sale of surplus state-owned lands to tribal governments. Essentially, it makes it clear which tribal governments would have access to that sale, making it clear that it would be the tribe that's located where that reservation is located. So some other tribe from some other place couldn't step in to try to buy that land. So it's just making it more clear what that provision was originally intended to do. I had some feedback from some tribal attorneys, and I have an attorney here, Ms. Coons, if folks have questions about the need to amend this language.
Representative Becker-Finn moves the A7 amendment to get the bill in the shape the author would like. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. Representative Becker-Finn, to your bill as amended.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So House File 1586 is the annual DNR lands bill. So as mentioned, one of the primary provisions in the bill is the access, the ability to allow the surplus state-owned lands to tribal governments to purchase if they're within their reservation boundaries. There are also several technical elements which I'm going to ask DNR to come speak to.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. Thank you. My name is Susan Damon. I'm the acting director of the DNR Division of Lands and Minerals. So as Representative Becker-Finn mentioned, this is the DNR's lands bill. There have been some amendments to it. The bill very simply contains a number of amendments. There's a technical change to Minnesota Statute Section 84.0273 pertaining to boundary line agreements between the state and adjacent owners. Current law requires publication of a proposed conveyance between 15 and 30 days before the conveyance. This amendment makes the law easier to comply with by changing the publication time to at least 30 days before the conveyance. There are a few provisions in the bill that authorize changes to law that will improve efficiencies in DNR's land sales. Those are sections 2 and 4, which authorize an increase from $50,000 to $100,000 of the estimated market value of surplus land before an appraisal is required. Section 3 reduces the number of state agencies or entities that the DNR must notify before selling surplus state land. Representative Becker-Finn has already talked about the provision pertaining to the offer of surplus lands to federally recognized Indian tribes. The bill also authorizes the private sale of 3 parcels of surplus state land bordering water. Carleton County, there's a sale to the Fond du Lac Band, and Hubbard County, there's a sale to the county, and in Yellow Medicine County, there is a sale to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. The bill authorizes the public sale of surplus state land bordering water in Cass, Kanabec, Otter Tail, and Wabasha counties. The overall fiscal impacts of this bill in the next biennium are estimated to be $174,000 to the DNR. There are also some provisions in the bill that were amended and authorize a private sale of land in Itasca County. This is tax forfeited land. It would authorize the sale to community radio of a tax forfeit parcel. There's authorization of leases of tax forfeited land by St. Louis County, and then there are also a number of tax forfeited private sale parcels that are authorized. Those are also expected to have some small fiscal impacts.
Any questions for Ms. Damon? Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On page 13, section 20, lines 13.27 through 13.30 talks about the department determining the land would best be managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service as a WPA.
Ms. Damon.
Excuse me. Mr. Chair, Representative Fabian, yes, this is it's a parcel right now. It's a public water access.
Question, Mr. Chair.
Representative Fabian.
Thank you. I'm curious to know if the Yellow Medicine County, because of the difference in the way PILT would be taken care of and so forth, did Yellow Medicine County weigh in on this transaction?
Ms. Damon.
Mr. Chair, Representative Fabian, I do not have that information. I can certainly get that for you.
Any other questions for Ms. Damon? Representative Lewick.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I guess this is probably for the for the bill author on the amendment where we made some adjustments for tribal governments. Did you consult with the Dakota Sioux tribal governments as to whether they would want to be involved in this opportunity to possibly purchase land?
Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I did not directly consult with them, but my understanding is that the commissioner of the DNR did speak to all the tribes at the most recent MIAC meeting. And to be clear, this option to purchase applies to all federally recognized tribes. So it includes, Dakota, Ojibwe, all 11 federally recognized tribes in Minnesota.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and the author, Bill. Well, that's what I see. We've specifically mentioned the Minnesota Chippewa tribe, and I understand there's, but I didn't see any mention of the Dakota Sioux, and I do know there are a couple circumstances where there is private property within, or potential property that could come for sale within two of their areas. So, but yeah, as long as this, absolutely provides everybody a even playing field relative to all the tribes. I just was kind of taken back by mentioning one group, but not another.
Mr. Chair.
Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The reason that it's mentioned is that the setup of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe with the different constituent bands is unique, and it's making it clear that each of those bands is on the same footing with the tribes that are recognized not as part of the Minnesota Chippewa tribe. So it's not special treatment. It's all of the, my understanding is that all of the tribes are on board with this provision and happy to see the recognition moving forward.
Any other questions? There is an A6 amendment. I'm not sure who that is from.
Yeah, Paul Anderson.
Nobody claims the A6 amendment?
Okay, Mr. Chair. Yeah, it's a A6 amendment deals in 12B with sale of some railroad property to help with the food plant in Albany. That's what the A6 amendment does.
So, Representative Becker, that's yours?
Well, actually, it's Paul Anderson, but I can, if he's not here. Oh,
Representative Backer moves the
Yep.
A6 amendment. And Ms. Damon, do you have any comments on the A6 amendment?
Mr. Chair, members, as far as I know, the amendment is actually a MnDOT parcel that would be transferred. And the DNR has reviewed that. It does not impact any land that we administer, and we're not opposed to it.
Representative Becker-Finn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I do see that Representative Anderson is here. If maybe he can just for the record explain what we're doing here with this amendment.
Representative Anderson?
Mr. Chair, members, yeah, this was heard in environment policy, and the language is from MnDOT themselves. It has to do with going through the city of Albany. The Kraft Heinz plant wants to expand, and they need about a 10-foot sliver to the back of the building. And it's a MnDOT rail easement, and MnDOT has agreed to sell to the city or to Kraft Heinz that about a half an acre is what they need to complete their expansion of that plant. And MnDOT testified at the policy meeting, and they were okay with it.
Any questions of Representative Anderson? Representative Backer renews his A6 amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Amendment is adopted. Representative Becker-Finn to the bill. Is there anyone in the audience who would like to testify for or against the bill? Anyone in the audience? Representative Becker-Finn?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just say it's a good bill. It's maybe not the most exciting bill that we'll hear in this committee, but it gets some things done for our local communities as well as our tribal governments. And happy to incorporate Representative Anderson's amendment and the other amendments we've been able to put in that have support from the local communities.
Representative Becker-Finn renews her motion that House File 1586 as amended be recommended to be re-referred to the Ways and Means Committee. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion is adopted. Thank you. We will proceed back to the schedule. Representative Morrison. Representative Morrison would like to move your bill.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to move that House File 1885 be
Laid over for possible.
laid over for possible inclusion in the division report. Thank you.
Representative Morrison, please present your bill.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. House File 1885 proposes increasing the Watercraft surcharge from $5 to $20 over 3 years. The aquatic invasive species surcharge has not been increased since 1989, and only a few lakes were infested then, and there were only a few species to manage. Today, over 700 lakes are infested, and there are over 20 species of concern. The cost of boat licenses is very low. For the few dollars spent, boaters receive unfettered access to every lake with no inconvenience. Parking is included, garbage removal, safety patrols and enforcement, plus all of the water quality and work that is being done. Aquatic invasive species inspections and decontaminations are all free. In contrast, there are about 75 state parks in Minnesota, and a one-year pass to them costs $35. We're talking about a $15 increase in boat licenses spread over 3 years for access to over 3,000 access sites. This bill also provides more funding for the Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center. Science is probably our best chance at eradication of aquatic invasive species and of prevention. Yet the Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center has had to operate on a series of grants and one-time funding. It's been almost impossible for them to commit to long-term research programs because their funding is uncertain from 1 year to the next. This bill addresses that. And I do have one testifier who you have seen before, Jeff Forrester from Minnesota Lakes and Rivers.
Representative Morrison, I do have a question. Representative Backer.
No, we can wait.
Okay. Mr. Forrester.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Jeff Forster, Executive Director of Minnesota Lakes and Rivers Advocates, and I'm here to testify in support of this bill. There's, really in dealing with AIS, we're talking about partnerships, and this supports the three key partners: research at Minnesota Aquatic Invasive Species Research Center. It restores funding for the Minnesota DNR, which is a key player in all of this, and again, supports local action and lake associations who are kind of on the front lines. So thank you. I appreciate Representative Morrison bringing this bill forward, and if there's any questions,
Representative Backer.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. How was the $20 come up? What, that figure to go from $5 to $20? Was there just a number pulled out, or was there? That's my question.
Mr. Forrester.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, at $20, the University of Minnesota will get the base funding that they need. So basically, they added up, I believe, if you add up the $15 a year, divide it by the 3 years, you come up with the core base funding for the University of Minnesota. You restore the funding that the Minnesota DNR has lost over the years as the AIS problem has gotten worse and their funding has remained flat, and restore the grants to lake associations, but at a lower level than in 2017. I believe it provides about $600,000 a year for lake association grants instead of $800,000, which is what it used to be at. So it's a little bit less, but the number was arrived at by looking at what the need was.
Representative Backer.
I appreciate that. The only concern that I would have, especially out in my neck of the woods with most people own several different watercrafts. Like my father has a boat and 2 jet skis, so, because that's $20 per item, that gets to be pretty steep. I don't know if the author would think about a different fee, maybe go up to $10 or something like that. I know what you're trying to do, and I appreciate what you're trying to do. At the same time, is everybody's it's coming out of the constituents' pockets. So that would be my main concern when we quadruple the price from $5 to $20. That's a big jump where they've got grants in the past, offset some of it with a price increase. That's a suggestion that I would share with everybody. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, the timing of this is serendipitous. If you have a boat, you got your renewal notice not long ago. I wrote the check about 3 weeks ago, and that was about the same time. We have a large database of members, and I went out to 20,000 on this bill asking them about it. I received 3 or 4 people that said they had a lot of boats and they were concerned, and I got dozens in support. So that gave me some comfort, and I wonder, I know you guys have been receiving emails on this issue and other issues, and so, this would be the time of year when people would be most aware of what their boater registration costs were.
Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I'm glad Jeff is getting some positive waves coming your way because I'm getting a lot of negative ones. I have, of course, numerous nonprofit camps and other nonprofit organizations that are going to be affected by this. My resorters, they're seeing costs go up just about everywhere they look. So in this governor's budget, so they're kind of like, well, it seems like it's par for the course. This is going to have a huge impact on some of these organizations and groups that I've mentioned in previous committees, and so I'm going to mention it again. And I'm hoping that the bill author and others would be willing to consider possibly 2 things. It's already been brought up. Number 1, lowering this increase, and then the other side of that would be possibly exempting my nonprofits. And I've met some kind of negative resistance to that idea so far, but I'm going to keep mentioning it, and I'm curious today if there's been any more discussion about that.
Representative Morrison or?
Mr. Chair, Representative Heinzman, I think that the fee increase, remember, it's spread out over 3 years. So, it sounds like a lot in one lump sum, but if you spread it out over 3 years, it's not that much money. I think that's fair to say for most. And I think that we have to remember, too, that this is kind of a crisis in our lakes in Minnesota. None of us is going to be able to swim or fish or boat in any of them if we don't stay on top of this AIS problem.
Representative Heinzman.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So the point that I've had to make, and I'm going to continue to make, is say, for example, my Camp Confidence. They literally operate on donations and sponsorships for kids. And those kinds of organizations are going to have to pay more, and there will be kids that don't go to camp because they had to pay a small increase over 3 years. I'm not going to tell that family, your kid doesn't get to go to camp because of this. Now, they can go out and maybe solicit more donations, maybe it doesn't matter. But at some point, it does matter, and they are always filling up those spots. There's always kids that at some point they can't sponsor. This will affect families in a negative way in those situations, and I hope that the bill author would reconsider because it is going to hurt some families.
Any other questions? Representative Becker-Finn.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Representative Morrison, I'm curious, we've had, there's a lot of us who serve on both the policy and the finance committee. If, any members or any of these groups have come to you with suggestions for ways to address some of those concerns, or if it's just, it's like we can angry tweet at each other and not come up with solutions, or we can, work together on addressing the actual concerns without taking down an entirely, overall good idea.
Representative Morrison.
Mr. Chair, Representative Becker-Finn and members, Representative Heinzman did address this concern in the policy meeting as well. I have not had other conversations with other organizations or groups about this issue. I am open to figuring out how we can best address our AIS crisis, and obviously the intent is not to hurt the nonprofit groups in your district.
And we can certainly have a conversation offline and see if there's something that we can do to support those groups. But boats are the vectors for AIS. I mean, we've pretty much conclusively shown that in the science. And so I think boats are a natural way to help us address the issue.
Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, just to follow up, just to give a little perspective, we talk about boats, but the bill talks about watercraft. So what's the definition? Can we get a list of the watercraft that are going to be impacted by the surcharge?
Representative Morrison or Mr. Forrester?
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, it's my understanding that it would be any watercraft that you would have to buy a watercraft license for.
Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and that's why I asked for the list, because I think a lot of people would like to see what do you have to buy a license for.
Representative Morrison.
Mr. Chair, members, I'm sure that list is available because people purchase boat licenses every 3 years. So I'm sure we can I don't know if there's someone in the audience who could address the list question.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, perhaps Heidi Wolf, who is here, can answer that question.
Ms. Wolf.
Mr. Chair, committee members, that list does exist. We don't have it here. We'll certainly get it to you.
Any other questions? Anyone from the audience would like to testify for or against the bill?
Mr. Chair, can I?
Representative Fabian.
This is the surcharge here, but I think in DNR's, the governor's budget request, there's also a fee increase that would go to the water rec account against watercraft as well, right? Can we get some, what is that going to be per craft? Can someone from DNR or Mr. Okay.
Ms. Wolf.
Mr. Chair, Representative Fabian, the governor's budget includes an increase on the watercraft surcharge from $5 to $7.25.
Representative Fabian.
Per year, over a 3-year period, correct?
Over a 3-year period, correct.
Thank you.
Any closing remarks? Representative Morrison.
Thank you for hearing the bill. I think this is a simple, low-impact way that we can help to address our aquatic invasive species problem. Thank you.
Representative Morrison renews her motion that House File 1885 be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill. The bill is laid over. Representative Lippert.
Thank you.
I will move that House File 1299 be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill. Representative Lippert, do you have, we have 3 amendments in our packet. Is the A3 the one that you would like to move? Like us to move?
Which is I don't have those amendments. The climate study one is the one to move.
Representative Lippert, why don't you describe the bill and we will try to figure out which amendment we're moving.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members. House File 1299 has a goal of planting 1 million additional trees in each of fiscal years 2020, 21, 22, and 23. This bill aims to plant trees for 2 interrelated purposes. The first is to sequester carbon and respond to climate change. A Nature Conservancy study released in November in the journal Science Advances spoke of natural climate solutions. It found that managing the nation's landscapes with carbon in mind can cut greenhouse gas emissions by as much as 21% nationwide. as much as that's equal to taking all cars and trucks off the road in our country. Minnesota was identified as a state with great potential for net carbon emissions reduction through natural climate solutions. We could potentially reduce our net climate emissions by 1/3 through managing our landscapes. And one natural climate solution for Minnesota includes replanting forests. And so this bill seeks to work on this important area of climate response that's equal to transitioning renewable energy and electrifying the transportation system. This bill also seeks to respond to the emerald ash borer crisis. We heard in the Environment and Natural Resources Policy Committee that we will be losing all our ash trees. And so we want to get out in front of this crisis, both to be maintaining the important ecological benefits of our ash stands and also to be maintaining the carbon sequestration that those current ash stands are providing for our state as well. Forrest Bowe from the DNR is with me today. This initiative is not in the governor's budget, but we've been working very closely with the DNR to put together how this concept would work, and so he can talk through the details of this bill for us.
Representative Lippert, I will move the A3 amendment to get the bill in the shape the author would like.
Okay.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion prevails. The amendment is adopted. Mr. Bowe.
Mr. Chair, members, for the record, my name is Forrest Bowe, Director of Forestry with Minnesota DNR. Representative Lippert has asked that I run through the bill kind of at a high level. I also have some comments, and I believe some other testifiers as well. So first of all, Section 1 talks about or allows DNR to sell seedlings in smaller quantities than we're currently able to do so. Section 2 of the bill actually starts to state the goal, planting 1 million trees each year for the 4 years to provide carbon sequestration and improve forest health. Section 2, Subdivision 2, speaks to improving seed extraction processes at our state forest nursery, developing native seeds appropriate for the climate, and design and construct cold storage facilities to store those seed and seedlings. Section 2B provides funding to produce container-grown trees when appropriate on state lands. Again, another climate change issue here. Subdivision 2, Section C, appropriates money to enhance and rehabilitate what we'll call non-productive state lands. These are state lands that are currently in a state that they wouldn't allow a timber sale. The production would be so low. We've tried to sell those, and we really need to rehabilitate the site. We could wait 50 or 100 years for trees to come back, or we could rehabilitate the site now and replant and get a forest growing there sooner. Subdivision 3 talks about private lands, increasing the outreach to private lands. Subdivision 3B talks about planting additional trees on private land with private landowners through a cost share program. Subdivision 4 talks about our emerald ash borer response. Basically, Subdivision 4A and B is taking some of those ash stands, trying to do something with those now, identifying where those are, converting those ash stands to be something more diverse and climate adapted into the future.
You have another testifier, Representative Lippert?
I have a few comments on the bill now that I've walked through. So first of all, I thank Representative Lippert for the interest in planting more trees. That's always a good thing. Really, this bill has all the right components to meet that goal of planting trees 1 million per year so that we can sequester more carbon. We have done some calculations, and we expect that the carbon benefit of planting 4 million trees or 1 million trees per year will be somewhere between 500,000 to 1.5 million tons of carbon dioxide over a 70-year period. What does that mean? So for every million trees we plant, we take the equivalent of about 750 cars off of the road. And as Representative Lippert had stated, this is just but one of the climate solutions that we could have here in Minnesota. Of course, in order to produce and provide the seed and seedlings, there's some improvements that we'll need to our nurseries, the seed extraction processes, making sure we have those appropriate climate adapted species, climate adapted seeds, and of course to store those. And in addition to those seed extraction investments, the bill calls for investments in our DNR nursery to begin production of a plug or a containerized seedling for use on state lands. Since we started working with the author on this bill, we have learned from the nursery, Minnesota Landscape and Nursery Association, that there may be some capacity right here in Minnesota. We had lost that in the past, and currently we're going through some partners in Canada to grow some seedlings. We think we can do that better right here in Minnesota, and we look forward to more investigation with the Minnesota Landscape Nursery on that piece of this.
Mr. Lippert,
Thank you.
Representative Lippert, if we could have those other testifiers.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I invite Jim Manolis to come forward too.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, good afternoon, Chairman Hanson and members. My name is Jim Manolis. I'm Forest Conservation Program Director with the Nature Conservancy in Minnesota. And the Nature Conservancy is an international organization with the mission to conserve the lands and waters on which all life depends. We work to attain that mission here in the state through our work to restore and protect native prairies, freshwater resources, and forests. So I'm here today to speak in support of the goals of House File 1299. Recently, and as Representative Lippert mentioned, Nature Conservancy released a report on the natural climate solutions for the United States. And this report highlights how land management can help store carbon and mitigate the effects of climate change while also providing many other benefits for water quality, flood control, soil health, timber products, and wildlife habitat. So in Minnesota, our forests are changing. Some tree species may not be suited for a changing climate. And for this reason, we support accelerating tree planting and reforestation with resilient native species. And this really does mean that we need to increase the supply of our seedlings, and as called for in this bill. In addition to reforestation and planting on public lands, we also support additional efforts to work with private landowners to provide incentives for encouraging planting and nurturing our forests. And we need to prepare our forests to be resilient to climate change, as well as pests like the emerald ash borer. And we support the efforts to diversify those ash stands and mitigate the impacts of the emerald ash borer, especially in our northern forests. It's not just an urban issue. As an organization whose work is driven by science, we like to see, thinking about these issues, using a science-based prioritization to determine where we do reforestation, planting, and conversion sites. And selecting the sites, we would like to see an emphasis on areas that are most resilient to climate change. And we appreciate that this bill seeks to better understand carbon potential in Minnesota's forests. It sets us up to help identify which practices will further help us to mitigate carbon emissions. And the bill is a step in the right direction that's needed to keep our forests intact and equip forest stands to be resilient for years to come. And so thank you, Representative Lippert, for your efforts on this bill. And we look forward to continuing the conversation about preparing Minnesota's forests for what's ahead.
Any questions for the testifier? Thank you. Yeah. Any other testifiers, Representative Lippert?
I have no other testifiers.
Oh, I think you do.
Oh.
Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. My name is Forrest Sear. I am the Government Affairs Director at the Minnesota Nursery and Landscape Association. I want to thank Representative Lippert for bringing this bill forward and the other bill sponsors, of course. Setting statewide goals for planting and carbon sequestration opportunities, as well as the health of the forest, is vitally important. And we're also encouraged to see money for EAB in the bill. That's a priority for my association, and we're going to keep fighting for it. So, however, we do have some concerns with the appropriation to expand the state's nursery to provide for the seedlings for the planting. MNLA encourages the committee to consider using existing private industry capacity for producing container-grown trees rather than expanding the state's nursery facilities to produce the required seedlings. MNLA hopes that the DNR can expand their opportunities to enter into contracts with private nurseries and to hit the goal of 1 million trees planted per year. So I'm happy to take any questions if you have them. Thank you.
Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Well, I had that in my notes to ask questions about what is the capacity in the private sector already. We've had this conversation over the years with regards to, the state actually going into competition against the private sector and the jobs that are created there. Maybe between you and Director Bowe, we can have a little bit more conversation today, if there's time, just to find out where really the taxpayers' dollars should be going.
Mr. Sear.
Mr. Chair, Representative Fabian, thanks for the question. Right now, we are reaching out to our large nursery operations that are looking at their capacity. I know that they are eager to fill this kind of need, and some staff within the Minnesota Nursery and Landscape Association are surveying currently, so we can provide feedback on that.
Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Director Bowe, can you describe for me DNR Forestry's relationship with the private sector and how you probably work back and forth with each other?
Director Bowe.
Mr. Chair, Representative Fabian, I can describe that. I think we have a very good relationship with the Minnesota Landscape Nursery Association. As a matter of fact, I met with them just a couple weeks ago and kind of put out this plea that this company that we're using to grow our containerized stock in Canada is just not performing well for us. And in the past, we had some growers here in Minnesota. They no longer were able to meet our needs. A couple of them had sold their business, gone out of business, and so we had kind of moved on to the Canadian folks. A couple weeks ago, we heard from the Minnesota Landscape Association that there might be some renewed interest, and so we're really interested in seeing if that will work again. And sounds like there is some availability there. We grow, I want to say, about 6 million seedlings or package 6 million seedlings for sale annually. About 4 million of those, I believe, we grow ourselves, and we purchase the other 2 million. Would that be correct? I just happen to have my nursery manager here today, so if anyone has any questions about our nursery operation from kind of one end to the other, this would be a great day to ask those.
If we had a little more time.
Yeah. Okay.
Representative Fabian.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's why I said that earlier. So, Director Bowe, 1 million trees, 2 mature forest over 50 years. How many cords of wood does that yield? And it's not a gotcha question. I'm not doing that to you. You know me better than that. So
Wow.
You can get back to me with that.
I will get.
Yep.
Why don't we, Representative Fabian, why don't we, Representative Eklund has 2 amendments, and if we can get those done, Representative Eklund?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to move the A1 amendment.
Representative Eklund moves the A1 amendment. You want to describe the amendment?
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. The goal of this amendment is to increase carbon sequestration via planting the trees. As written, the bill does not currently require this assessment and reporting. Minnesota Resource Council has previously conducted a similar assessment and has unique capacity for additional assessment related to forest management and carbon sequestration. I have talked to Director Bowe about this, and the DNR is all right with this amendment. As far as doing that, they believe another study is fine.
Representative Wagenius.
Thank you for bringing this forward. As we move along with this, one of the, I think we could help out with a better definition of the scope of this Because one of the things that's missing, I think anyway, is we've got an estimation of the changes in carbon sequestration likely to result from the loss of forests associated with emerald ash borer, but no estimation of loss from climate change. And that is a piece of a puzzle that would need to be put in here, making the scope better.
Representative Lippert, what do you think of the A1 amendment and continuing to work on things?
I support the A1 amendment and would be open to working with Chair Wagenius on incorporating her suggestions as well.
Representative Eklund?
That's fine, Mr. Chair.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The A1 is adopted. A2, Representative Eklund.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The A2 amendment was intended to ensure that we gain the input and guidance on emerald ash borer research that has been taking place for the past 8 years through the LCCMR and other areas. This research has been looking at mimicking the potential impacts of emerald ash borer on our forests and their productivity. At this time, after some conversation with the DNR and others, I'm withdrawing the amendment as it seems in its current form, this language creates more of a barrier for the state than is written. However, even though I am withdrawing this amendment, I would appreciate, Mr. Chairman, if we agree that going forward and the research related to the emerald ash borer replacement species be part of the DNR's work.
Representative Lippert?
I support the comments of Representative Eklund.
Any other questions? Is there anyone in the audience who would like to testify for or against the bill? I renew my motion that House File...
Mr. Chair,
Oh,
before you do
Representative
that, I just wanted to point out that there are some policy provisions in the bill. Hasn't been to the Environment Policy Committee. Section 1, obviously, I think deals with policy. Hasn't been there. And there's no Senate companion. I'm not sure what the path of this bill is, but it doesn't seem to me like it met deadlines with regards to policy. So I'm just pointing that out to the author.
I renew my motion that House File 1299 be, as amended, be laid over for possible inclusion in the omnibus bill. Bill is laid over. So members, the route when we come back at 5 is to do House File 2015, and after that is completed, then we will do the Clean Water Legacy. And with that, we are in recess.